Pornography has become so mainstream, much of society is starting to believe it's harmless.
What you'll often hear from porn users is, well, I'm not hurting anybody. But the truth is, there are very real victims.
For instance, girls forced to act in obscene productions against their will.
What was happening to me was a lot of violence and bondage and being raped and kicked and beaten.
Nadine, at this conference on sexual exploitation, told of how the man producing torture films starring her put her in an aquarium with a huge boa constrictor.
And then dropped the snake in on top of me and closed the lid. And he filmed me, my terror, which hadn't got anything to do with sex except that I was naked.
This blatant exploitation wouldn't happen if there wasn't such an X-rated demand. And these consumers often hurt the ones closest to them, like the wife of longtime addict Matt Russell.
It was just a constant companion of mine, despite marriage, despite children.
It really sunk me because I felt that he preferred just even the image of someone over me. And as a woman, that's a hard thing to handle. It finally got to a point where I just said, I'm done. I'm done with this, and we separated.
Kathy Dyer's husband, Greg, drove her to seek therapy to deal with his addiction and the affair that followed.
I had this gaping wound, and I knew that if I didn't get some counseling, I was going to hate men.
These husbands eventually broke free and both couples reconciled, joining a Lakeland, Florida church that tackles porn addiction head-on. Kevin Conrad leads an accountability group there.
I have seen men lose jobs, careers, not just jobs, but careers. I've seen them lose families, lose children, lose relationships with parents and siblings.
Church counselor Trina Mewborn sees how that desire for the X-rated destroys marriages.
Just based on the couples that I've seen through the years, at least 50% of the couples that are coming forward have some type of struggle with either pornography or internet affairs or some type of sexual issue.
CBN News talked to Pastor Jay Dennis about the problems within churches.
Have men lost their jobs? Have men lost their wives over pornography?
Absolutely, and I hear it continually. I see it in the church. I see it among pastors.
Such as Tom Wolf, a youth pastor, whose life in the X-rated world led to a series of affairs.
And I was found out and obviously lost my job, lost my church, lost my youth pastor's job, and for a while lost my family.
Missionary Nick Ripken says so many young Christian men are now addicted, they can't be on the mission field.
95% of them are trapped in pornography. They got started at 11, 12, 13 years of age. They can't get out of them.
And you can see it in the numbers. The current ratio is 7 female missionaries for every male.
And we're going to stand before God as Westerner, as men, and say 2 billion people can die and go to hell so I can watch naked women on the internet.
And men aren't the only ones. Former addict Crystal Renault says 1 in 3 visitors to adult websites are women.
This is me at the age of 10. Just a few months before, I would find my brother's stash of porn in his bathroom that would catapult me into an 8-year addiction with pornography and sexual addiction.
Even with the actual visual pornography, women are being drawn into it by the droves.
Renault testifies how this takes people into darker and riskier places.
For women who struggle with porn, it is said that 80% of them will escalate their behaviors into in-person encounters.
Sometimes it leads to criminal behavior.
I know of educators who are viewing pornography in their classrooms. I know of educators that just simply are taking advantage of children.
In her research, psychotherapist Marianne Layden sees a consistent link between those who consume porn and those who commit sexual violence. And she talks about a frightening study of college males who used more and more pornography during their time on campus.
In their senior year, had higher scores as psychopaths. We are teaching our males to be psychopaths.
Some men declare the reason they're such lustful creatures is that's just who men are.
That is absolutely going against everything that Jesus has taught us. They can help it. They can choose against this.
Dyer says they know in their hearts they're wrong.
Why do you hide it from your wife? Why do you hide it from God?
It's not a problem.
Why do you hide it in your house from your kids? Because you know it's not right.
Nadine blames these addicts for what happens to women like her.
They don't know about the degradation that happens inside you, the tearing at your soul, the ripping out of your heart when you get filmed like that. And then to know that there are people, men, mostly men, but women that are gawking and staring and eyeing everything.
Pastor Dennis says viewers can change all this by imitating the godly man Job.
In Job 31:1, he said, I made a covenant with my eyes not to look lustfully at a young woman.
And accepting Jesus Christ died on the cross to set men free.
So that we wouldn't have to be the way we are, that we could change, that we wouldn't have to give in to our sinful natures.
Some declare they cannot live without pornography. Well, it just isn't so. Truth is, no one in history has ever died from a lack of pornography. Paul Strand, CBN News, reporting from Lakeland, Florida.